Hey everyone, I'm your host Tyler, and welcome to the Lifehack Show. Today, we're going to be asking the question, why can't I focus? I love my cell phone. I love spending time on this thing, getting on social media, playing games on my phone, all the apps I have. But if you're anything like me, the more time you spend on these apps, the less happy you feel. Did you know that the average American worker gets distracted every 11 minutes? And on top of that, what's even worse about this is the fact that once you do get distracted, and then you spend however much time on an app, on Instagram, or playing a game, you then have to take an extra 25 minutes on average just to refocus yourself. That is a lot of time. And if the project is even more complicated, it's even harder to get back into that focus, that workflow that we need. And this gets us to today's topic of the video, which is focus. Focus is our most powerful tool in accomplishing our goals. And also download the Lifehack worksheet down in the description below. This is free to use, and this will be very helpful in working through how it is to stay focused while we're going through this video. Feel free to give me a follow at TyTyForney or at TyTyForney96 on all social media platforms. Feel free to leave a message there, and let's talk about some things. Let's talk about goals. Let's connect. I would love to meet with you guys and know, what are you guys passionate about and what do you guys want to focus on? And also don't forget to join our Facebook group. There will be a link in the description. Feel free to head that way because we are a community and that's what we want to focus on here. Let's push each other towards our goals and let's stay focused. All right, let's get into this video. All right, so I'm going to give you the biggest point right here, right now. This is the point I want you to get in this video, is that we choose to distract ourselves. And the problem is that when we're choosing to distract ourselves, we don't realize it, and it's kind of too late once we are distracted. So let's not blame any of these apps or the games or the social media that we use, because at the end of the day, we are choosing to consume that content. I know for me personally, some big ones are YouTube and TikTok. I can just scroll and scroll and scroll on TikTok, as well as on YouTube. It's so easy just to find your favorite content creators and just constantly look through their feed and constantly update your subscriptions, getting notifications. I mean, these things, guys, are such big distractors, and yet we choose to let it invest in our lives and we choose to let it control us. So let's go ahead and break down the barriers of this and the two major types of distractions that we often see. The first one being the internal distractions. And this one is all mental. These are things that tend to block and have us hold back from staying focused. They're oftentimes things that we choose to focus on. We have sort of options that we like to pick. That's what I'm referring to by blocks here. And so sometimes this manifests itself by just having so many options to choose from that we get overwhelmed. Do you ever think why it's so easy to choose to watch a movie while you're on the plane? Well, that's simply because there's really not a lot of options. You can't really get up or leave the flight once it's going. You have so limited options on what you can do. You can either just get on your phone and do the limited things you can do, or you can watch a movie. And that's why it's so easy and you're not as stressed on making that decision, because you're already on the plane, you're going somewhere, you're going to choose the easiest option in front of you. But we get so overwhelmed by having so many decisions to make, and oftentimes your brain will prioritize the tasks at hand, and it will decide to take the most satisfying one in front of it, the easiest option of all of your choices. And number two, we have the external distractions. And this one's pretty obvious. It's the phone ringing, some sort of movement going on, a notification popping up, all these different things that are just, they're such loud noises that we can't quite tune them out. These are things that happen constantly throughout the day. And for myself personally, it can be as easy as a phone call. I tend to get very easily distracted when I get a phone call because I'm going to prioritize answering my phone if it's that dire and somebody needs to talk to me. So step number one here is to eliminate your options. So we're gonna go ahead and use the example of watching a movie on the plane. We're gonna use this to understand how to weigh the options and how to eliminate certain things so that they don't interrupt us from what we're trying to get done. Let's say we have some options as we're going to bed, and let's say we can focus on trying to go to sleep, or we could scroll through Instagram as we're getting ready to go to sleep. Well, the simple answer to this is, if Instagram is such a big distraction for you, put it away. Don't keep it close to your bedside as you're going to bed. don't let this be an option for something that you can do instead of sleeping, which is the more productive thing you could do during that moment. Before you start your big task for the day, make sure that you weigh all of the options that you have. If you've got an appointment going on, if you've got a big deadline that you've got to finish, if you've got another meeting to go to, all of these options, weigh them through one at a time and make sure you're trying to accomplish them one at a time instead of allowing all these things to consume you and feel overwhelmed as you've got so many things to do today. And remember that guide I mentioned earlier? Well, now is a great chance to go ahead and download that and start working through all of the options that you have. This worksheet will help you write down all of those options, and you're going to be able to just focus on one thing at a time because you can write out the options and be able to plan your day a little bit better. So go ahead and download it, link in the description, make sure you get that. And the second step here is to create mental stop signs. When you get into this negative, distracting flow, there are ways to stop it. How do you mark that? Well, if you want to stop watching YouTube videos, in the example of me, which is something I'm constantly doing, is getting distracted by YouTube, set a timer. Set limitations on your phone so that way there are little breaks and interruptions in this flow of distraction that completely stop you in your tracks, and then you've got to jump back into whatever you were doing. So for me, for example, I typically set a timer for like 30 minutes. If I take a break, I will try and just turn off for those 30 minutes, let myself indulge in 1, 2, 3 videos of YouTube, and then I'll go ahead and jump back into whatever task I was doing. I'll even give myself a little bit of a grace period and set another timer so that I can kind of reshift my focus and allow myself to get back into that workflow. And another option you can do is set a progress limit. Limit yourself to the number of videos you're watching. So for example, how many TikTok videos can I scroll through before I'm done? How many YouTube videos can I indulge in before I'm finished for the day? Is it 2, 3, 4, 5? How many can I do in one session? That way I'm limiting myself and I'm allowing that time to stay focused on this one task, and then I can slowly get back into my other task. And now step 3 is controlling your environment. So what do I mean by this? This is where we learn how to use the 5 senses in order to stay focused, keeping all 5 senses in a state of control, and that way we are able to stay focused on the task at hand. So for this one, I'm actually going to leave some of the details in the worksheet. Feel free to work through that in the link in the description and download that. These senses will help you a lot, and it's really going to help you stay controlled in your work environment, or even when you're trying to take a break, and you can limit how long your break time is. Understanding critical feedback of our 5 senses is so important here, right guys? However, it can also be very overwhelming, and this may not work for everybody, and that's okay, but feel free to give it a shot. For example, some people love to be in a coffee shop. Some people love the environment of it, the smell, having people around. It's just a great environment for some people, including myself, just to be in a place to focus. But for some people, it can be very overwhelming, and even like drinking the coffee can make you very jittery and just maybe doesn't even help you focus whatsoever. I know for myself, the coffee shop environment actually works very well for me, but sometimes a little too much coffee actually makes me very anxious, especially when I'm sitting around. So a great thing that I've learned in terms of focusing those senses is that I'm able to indulge in a cup of coffee in the morning in order to get through a good workflow, get a good session of work in. And then what I often have to do is, because I have so much energy from the coffee, if I don't get a good workout in midway through the day, I'm just going to be very anxious all day as the coffee goes through my system. So I've actually learned for myself a great way to control those senses in the environment is work through a certain amount of time on whatever project I have to do. And then what I can do is take a break, take a longer break to eat lunch, maybe get a little workout in so that way I can burn off some of that energy from the coffee. And that actually helps me to refocus back in to do an evening session of work as well. So when you're looking at a particular task and what you're doing, you should write down what should be there and what should not be there in the environment. What kind of smells, what kind of activities, what kind of things can be around. Write each of these details down as you're working through it, so that way you know how to create the best controlled environment for you to focus. And maybe you haven't even found the perfect productivity spot, and that is okay. Just work through this worksheet and you will find the best spot for you, I promise it. And so if you're like me and you feel guilty sometimes, maybe even you have sleepless nights because you feel like you didn't do enough today or you were very unproductive, I know that feeling. work through this worksheet, guys. It will help you immensely to focus. You can eliminate the options, you can find the stop signs, and you can find the best controlled environment for you to stay productive. I promise you guys, working through this worksheet is very helpful. And I want to be clear on this. What we've talked about today is not how to eliminate these distractions. That's not at all what we're trying to do here. There's no way to completely always eliminate distractions. And so what these steps have done actually is, in the midst of all of this craziness and all of the distractions that we feel, what we're learning is not eliminating those distractions, but what we're learning is how to control those distractions and how to keep those limitations in front of us, so that way we know when it's time to get on our phone and when it's time to work. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Lifehack Show as we talk through focus. I hope this was very helpful to you guys. Make sure to download the worksheet down below and make sure that you work through that, because I promise you it'll be very helpful. Also, don't forget to join our Facebook group and the community we have there, as well as leave a comment, hit that subscribe button and the bell notifications. That way you get more of our Lifehack content here. So thank you guys so much for watching today, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.